There's a lot of stressed out people on the road these days. Unfortunately, it doesn't take much to set them off. Road rage is on the rise and it can create some pretty serious encounters. So don't be cutting people off or tailgating because it can really tick off some hotheads. And if you do something stupid, try to apologize. Just don't get suckered into a confrontation. And never make eye contact or a gesture at an angry driver because that can really make things personal. And if a situation gets out of hand, just back off and get out of there.
All new vehicles come equipped with driver-side airbags, and most have passenger-side airbags too. Airbags are a great complement to seatbelts, but by no means do they eliminate the need to wear a seatbelt. You should also know that passenger-side airbags can be dangerous for children 12 and under. The only safe place for them is in the back seat, properly buckled in. Most new cars, trucks, and sport utility vehicles come equipped with anti-lock braking systems, or ABS. ABS prevents a vehicle from skidding when braking in an emergency, if it's used right. But if it's not used right, you could be in serious trouble. The key thing to remember when braking in an emergency in a vehicle equipped with ABS is this: press firmly on the brake pedal and don't let up. Don't pump the brakes. ABS does this for you, but only if your foot is planted firmly on the brake pedal. ABS can also help you brake and steer around an obstacle in an emergency. Just remember to steer gently, because the car will do exactly what you tell it to. Don't jerk the wheel sharply, or you could end up in a ditch.
There are a lot of rude drivers out there today. You don't want to be one too. Signal well in advance of making turns or changing lanes. Don't tailgate and don't cut people off when changing lanes. Pass on the left, drive on the right. You know you hate sharing the road with jerks, so don't be one.
Teenage drivers get distracted easily, and that can get you into real trouble real quick. So when you're driving, concentrate on the task, not fooling around with the radio, talking to friends, or seeing who or what's going on around you. Pay attention to your driving.
Most new drivers don't get that much training at night, and that's a problem. While younger eyes adapt better to the dark than older ones, they still need to be used correctly in order to avoid crashes. In particular, you need to be on the lookout for pedestrians in dark clothing, also bicycles and cars without their lights on, deer and other animals, and debris in the roadway. Never overdrive your headlights by driving so fast that you can't see far enough ahead. You need to be able to brake in time so that you can avoid hitting a dark object in the road.
It's a fact. Most teens don't get enough sleep. We're biologically programmed to want to go to bed late, but we still have to get up early for school. This means we're at a greater risk of falling asleep behind the wheel than most adults. Drivers who fall asleep have especially serious crashes, often killing innocent people in other cars and passengers in their own cars. Be smart. If you're too tired to drive safely, don't drive. Stop and take a nap. Even a short one of 20 minutes or so can make the difference between getting where you need to safely or taking a crash course in sleeping.
If for some reason one or two of your wheels suddenly drop off the edge of the road, keep calm. Too often drivers panic and steer abruptly to return to the road and then slingshot across the other side of the road or into traffic. Instead, take your foot off the gas, slow down, but avoid hard braking if possible. If your off-road wheel is rubbing against the edge of the road, move a few inches further off the road if possible. Don't attempt to turn back onto the road until you slow to 25 miles per hour or less. After you've slowed down, and when there's no traffic, turn the steering wheel a quarter turn toward the roadway. This move permits the tire to climb the pavement edge and get back on the roadway. Once on the roadway, countersteer to travel straight down the roadway.
If you see an emergency vehicle, like an ambulance or fire truck, with its lights flashing, give them the right of way. Slow down, pull off to the side, do whatever you can do safely to give them room.
A flashing red traffic light just means one thing: stop. You would never know when it comes to those bozos out there. They just slow down or go right through it if they were blind or something. But a flashing red light means the same thing as a stop sign. Stop.
Ever turn the wrong way on a one-way street? Most people have, and it's pretty scary. Do it on a high-speed road and you can be in some really big trouble, sometimes without even knowing it. So here's an important tip. The road's yellow line should always be on your left. If you've just entered onto a major highway and the yellow line is on your right, then you're going the wrong way.
New drivers tend not to look far enough down the road ahead of them. They drive with their eyes fixed on the end of the hood, and as a result, they tend to miss many potential risks before they become a real hazard. Like a child chasing their ball into the street just in front of their car. In the city, you should always drive looking at least a block ahead of you, and on the highway, look at least 20 to 30 seconds ahead of driving time. To safely make turns in traffic, you have to accurately judge the speed of oncoming cars and trucks. Otherwise, it's crunch time. After alcohol and unsafe speed, unsafe turns are the third largest cause of fatal crashes among teenage drivers. So, be especially safe when making left turns across traffic. Allow yourself a little bit more time than you think you need, just in case you've misjudged the situation.
Research has shown that young novice drivers are far more likely to have a crash if their friends are in the car with them. In fact, did you know that having 3 teenage passengers with you in the car increases your risk of a crash by 3 times? So regardless of your state laws, don't be a chauffeur for your friends.
Too many teen drivers don't wear their safety belts. That's pretty dumb. Belts not only protect you in a crash, but they help you to be a safer driver by keeping you firmly behind the wheel. So when some creep runs into you, you stay planted behind the wheel with some chance of controlling your car, rather than flying across the seat or even through the windshield. Ever see a race car driver who wasn't belted in? They want to stay in control of the car in a crash. And if you're smart, so do you.
Did you know that it is just as important to buckle up when you're in the rear seat of a car as it is when you're in the front seat? In a crash, unbuckled rear seat occupants might fly into the front seat, causing serious injury to themselves and to anyone sitting in the front seat. So whenever you're in a vehicle, no matter where you're sitting, buckle up. Did you know that the majority of race car drivers who crash are not seriously injured because they wear their seatbelts? Did you know that the majority of motorists killed in car crashes are killed because they aren't wearing their seatbelts? Be smart, be cool, and be safe. Buckle up every time you get into a car, truck, or SUV.
Whenever you come upon a school bus that is stopped with its lights flashing, you must immediately slow down and come to a stop, unless the bus is on the other side of a divided highway. The reason is simple. Children exiting the bus may run into the road, and they are often hard to spot. When the bus pulls away, remain very vigilant as you drive away, looking out for any children alongside the road.
Most car drivers, even experienced ones, haven't got a clue on how to share the road properly with big trucks. Tractor-trailer rigs have huge blind spots where the driver can't see you in his mirror. If you hang out there long enough, in the no zone, then the trucker may lose track of you. So here's a tip. If you can't see the driver by looking at his side mirror, then he can't see you either. And that can mean big trouble if he changes lanes.
Everybody speeds, right? Right. And speed kills, period. After alcohol, unsafe speed is the #1 killer of teenage drivers. It's also the #1 source of tickets for teens. In fact, teenage drivers get 3 times as many speeding tickets as an average driver. Not cool.
Tailgating, or driving too close to the vehicle in front of you, is dangerous. It limits your ability to react and stop if something happens in front of you. And it might just infuriate the driver in front of you, causing him to do something stupid.
Sometimes drivers do incredibly stupid things, like they stop at green lights, or they don't stop at the red ones, or they make a left turn in the right lane, or they just pull out without looking. Don't trust them. Always drive defensively and anticipate the unexpected.
You gotta pay extra attention to cars, trucks, and buses around you when you're driving in work zones. It's important to stay with traffic flow. When you approach a merging situation, like a lane closing next to yours, allow the other driver space to move into your lane. This keeps traffic moving smoothly and avoids someone cutting in front of you suddenly. And finally, tailgating is never good, but it can be big trouble in a work zone where there are a lot of unexpected slowdowns or stops. Remember, you're not alone out there, so keep an eye out for them. There are lots of hazards to keep your eyes open for in a work zone. So a roadway work zone is definitely not the time to get distracted by your cell phone, change the radio, joke around with your friends, or eat your lunch. Why risk a crash just for a bad song on the radio or a bite of your burger? Keep your eyes on the road in a work zone. Remember the word work in a work zone. What this means to you is that people, trucks, and other equipment are really close to where you're driving. Hopefully it'll never happen, but a construction truck, a knocked over barrel, or the guy picking up the barrel might suddenly appear on the road in front of you. So stay alert and expect the unexpected. Work zones are places that might test your patience. They can get in the way of where you want to go, and face it, most of the time you're going to have to slow down. Though you may be tempted to take a shortcut along the shoulder or weave in and out of the lanes to get through faster, follow the signs and expect the unexpected. Just keep your cool for a few minutes and you'll get through the work zone and on with your day.
Drinking and driving isn't cool, and that can mean losing your license. In most states, they have the so-called zero-tolerance laws when it comes to teens drinking and driving. That can mean any measurable level of alcohol in your breath, you could lose your license. Even one beer and you're busted. So if you want to keep on driving, no drinking.